of Sacramento. Locally owned for over 20 years, New Works has it fixed for you. Just go to newworksplumbing.com, N-E-W-W-R-X Plumbing. And remember, they're available 24/7, so if you have an emergency in the middle of the night, no problem. New Works will be there for you. Again, that's NEWWRXplumbing.com. Hey, check out my podcast today. It's The State of the Sacramento Kings. Have things been worse for the Kings since moving here from Kansas City in 1985? I explore that. I also talk about the double standards and hypocrisy as it relates to social media. As a matter of fact, the example that I use are two announcers that have worked for the same franchise. I'll give you a little hint. One of those announcers is me. That's on my podcast today, if you don't like that. All right, I'm going to finally weigh in on the Baseball Hall of Fame fiasco, because on Monday we had the crazy aftermath of the best weekend in the history of the NFL. Then you had the Kings getting blown out in Boston, the embarrassment in Atlanta, and so I spent time on that. But today, I'm going to give you my viewpoint on the fiasco with the Hall of Fame voting. Now, for the record, I despise Barry Bonds. Never liked the guy. I was around him enough to know that he was the most disrespectful athlete that I had ever been in the presence of. But I will also tell you, if I have a vote, I'm voting Barry Bonds into the Hall of Fame. How can you have a Hall of Fame without Barry Bonds or Roger Clemmens or Curt Schilling? And voters are keeping Curt Schilling out. Why? Because he has a different political viewpoint than them, or he's been outspoken on some issues that may not be very popular with the mainstream media? That doesn't mean he's not a Hall of Famer. Curt Schilling is clearly a Hall of Famer. I mean, if David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer, Curt Schilling sure as hell is a Hall of Famer. I don't even have to get into Bonds and Clemmens. Their numbers speak for themselves. And you know what? I'm okay with Bonds and Clemmens not getting in for a few years. I mean, they cheated. Their behavior and their actions, I think, warranted a little delay in getting into Cooperstown. But it's 2022, for crying out loud. And we're still talking about no Bonds and no Clemmens in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Who votes on these things? I mean, seriously, can we interview the people that are voting on the Baseball Hall of Fame? Bonds gets 66% of the vote when you need a minimum of 75%. I mean, Big Papi's the only guy that gets in. What a fiasco this is. Seriously, every single year we're dealing with this. Again, how can you have a true Hall of Fame without Barry Bonds in it? And again, this is coming from a guy that does not like the guy at all. But you got to be honest, you got to be objective. Barry Bonds should be in the freaking Baseball Hall of Fame. Hey, that's my rant for today. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Thank you so much for your support. If you like what I have to say, leave me a comment. I really appreciate it. I'll do my best to get back to you. And again, don't forget to check out today's podcast if you don't like that. Again, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching Grant's Rant.